interested in this particular area of digital marketing is because I've noticed that there's been a trend towards more and more people doing research later on in the buying cycle on Google. So if you've ever gone to a business meeting and before the meeting you've hopped onto, let's say, Google and searched the person's name to find out a little bit about them, that's happening more and more. So there was 1 billion personal name searches, or over 1 billion, sorry, on Google in last year alone. So that's a very significant trend that's happening in digital marketing at the moment. And I think as privacy becomes more important, people are really getting their first impressions from you online. And what's happening is either people aren't controlling what people, what people find when they do their Google searches, for example, or there's content which could potentially be damaging that's showing up, and they're not really protecting. And the funny thing is a lot of people don't realize how many people are actually falling off the buying cycle at the point where they're doing their research on who you are. They already know who you are. They're past the awareness stage, and they're in the consideration stage or even the purchasing stage, and they're falling off the buying cycle if they don't think that your digital reputation is strong enough. And we know that over 80% of B2B, business-to-business buyers are more likely to buy off somebody that they have a social media relationship with. And so I think this is really stemming over into the digital world. And so without further ado, we'll just get cracking into it straight away. So here we are. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name's Nathanial Bibby. I run a company called Bibby Consulting Group. We like to pride ourselves on being in the cutting edge of digital strategy. I've worked with a number of different industries over the years. We've helped 4,000 companies in the last 13 years. So I've seen just a wide variety of different industries and sectors, and a lot of the principles do apply, but every industry is different. What works on Facebook is not necessarily going to be the same thing that works on, let's say, LinkedIn, for example, or Google AdWords. So it all comes down to really strategy, and that's where we like to pride ourselves in having the biggest impact. That's my email address there for anybody that does want to ask me questions. Or you can type them in the chat box. That's absolutely fine. At the end of the webinar, we will be providing some free resources. One of them will be a workbook on personal branding, which will help you define your personal brand and your point of difference in the market. We'll also be providing some free training on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, and the webinar will be recorded. So we're going to provide that to everybody as well. So now that the housekeeping stuff is out of the way, we'll get straight into it. Okay, so I show this about who we've worked with to start with, just to give you a bit of an idea of what sort of companies these sort of strategies work for. So it could be financial services, obviously government, business-to-business type companies, Apple. These are the sort of firms that we generally like to work with. Having said that, we do work with a lot of small businesses as well. And what the difference is, I guess, is when it's a smaller business, your point of difference is really your personal brand. So what you have that, say, like a BT Financial or an Apple don't have, is you have that personal touch. And if you're a small business, so that really needs to be highlighted, because in fact, that's your edge and your point of difference. So the areas which I want to cover are why digital reputation matters, which social media websites to use, and the 5 keys to mastering digital reputation, access to resources and support tools to finish off. So we're going to try and get through all of this in about 35 minutes. And the first thing that I want to ask everyone is how do your customers make buying decisions? Now, when I ask that question to most people, what I find is there's a lot of guesswork going on. And I really encourage you to get on the phone and speak to your customers and ask them, how did you decide to get in touch with us? What made you decide to do business with us? Because let's say, for example, your customer is spending 60 minutes doing research on Google or on the internet, I should say, about who to use as the next service provider. How much of that 60 minutes do you want to spend in front of them? And of course, the answer is as much as you can. So Is it better to be on Facebook or LinkedIn, or is it better to have a really good website? Well, it depends where your customers are spending their time when they're making that buying decision. And the answer is you probably need all of them, but some of them you want to spend a bit more time on than others. So what do your customers see when they search your name? When you Google yourself, you want to make sure that you're logged out of any Gmail accounts that you may have, because your search results will generally be different to what other people's would be. Or you could switch into like incognito mode on your browser. And when you type in your name, you'll see generally like there's 3 types of search results. One is that you've got lots of good content, but there's some content that you want to push higher up the page than other bits of content. And that's in a good position to be in. Another one is, you've got some stuff on there which is not relevant. It's from another service provider, or it's a copy of your CV, or it's a high school reunion listing or something like that. And then the third position to be is when you've actually got something that you don't want up there, whether it's a negative thing or some Facebook photographs which are not going to serve you too well in business. Then you need to adjust privacy settings and make sure that gets bumped down the page. And there's various strategies you can use to do that. Okay, we mentioned this statistic, but very important one. This is the trend that you really need to take notice of. For example, if you optimize your LinkedIn profile, you will generally get to the top of Google. It's pretty much a fact that you'll get on the first page of Google search results. But if you get to the top of Google, the last thing you want to have if you're in sales is like a copy of your CV, where it says, this is my role at the company, without explaining the benefits to the person reading it, or the customer, so to speak. So you have to start thinking about your individual brand as a real, very similar to the business brand. So I'd encourage you all, if you haven't, to Google yourself and just try and add up, what proportion of the search results you actually control and you own. Because if you don't own them, then you're really you're really at risk as well. Because the thing is, anyone can post anything at any time about you or your brand, and generally, if it's something controversial, it will get a lot of engagement, and it's not long before it could be really impacting your business. I've worked with a very well-known surgeon once who had an incident with a lady where she literally went out. She wasn't happy with the surgery, and she went out and almost destroyed his brand, because every time somebody Googled his name to see if they were going to use him for surgery, they would see her posts and comments and rude remarks and so on. So the only way to actually fix that is to post positive content and push that other stuff down the page. So that's when things like search engine optimization come into it. And by the way, guys, the best ranking websites on Google at the moment are social media sites. And I'm going to go into a little bit as to why that is in a minute. So don't be mistaken. If your Google results don't shine, you will be losing opportunities. There are people searching your name. No doubt, if you start typing in your name on Google, you'll see that Google is already starting to guess, what the rest of it might be. The questions come through. What about if you've got quite a common name? And that is the case with a lot of people. And the reality is, if you do take ownership and control of this digital footprint, I suppose that you call it, you can actually quite beat the competition quite easily. If you've got the same name as like a celebrity or somebody in government or something like that, might not be as easy, but it's definitely something you should be considering, because you want to be showing up when people are looking for you. Okay, so another thing that I've noticed is a lot of people will try social media and quite quick to pigeonhole whether or not it works or not. And a good example would be like a Facebook page. You set up the business page and you do 3 weeks of posts and you share some videos and you've got a couple hundred likes, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, this Facebook thing's not really working out for me. So this is something that I think about 5% of businesses, or definitely small businesses, know how to utilize effectively. There's some of the big brands are killing it on social media. Brands like Coca-Cola, Apple, Smirnoff vodka, Grey Goose, all these guys are really making a lot of money off social media. And this is where the future is, because what's happened is the brand is not defined by the company anymore. Like if you had a website and you could tell people how great you are, that's one way to influence people. But how cool is it that you go to a social media page and all of the interaction with the customers are giving you a story about, you know, the brand. So the companies that will thrive in the social media age, without a doubt, are the ones with, you know, good services, that keep in close contact with their customers, have strong communication lines, and really do care, you know, about how their customers feel and you know, what motivates them to make their buying decisions. Okay, I'm just going to stop here and make sure that everybody can see the slides okay. Is everybody on the right, everybody can see the awareness, consideration, evaluation, and purchase slide? Just type in the chat box just to confirm that you can see that. Okay, guys, I'm going to keep going. It seems like everybody can see my slides okay. Thanks for the feedback, everyone. Okay, so look, the reason I bring this up is because we want to know where people are in the funnel when they're doing their research. Now, let me ask the question. If somebody's typing in your name, your full name into Google, where are they in the buying cycle? Well, the possibility is that they could be in any stage of it, but there's going to be a lot of them that are down towards the evaluation and consideration, and that's the worst place to lose buyers, especially when you don't know about it. You know, you don't know why you lost them. Quite often they'll say, oh, you know, the price or whatever, but generally, like, if it's something to do with your digital reputation, they're not going to necessarily be honest, because people don't want to hurt your feelings. But this is the most expensive area to lose leads. Okay, so these are the actual statistics. All right, so customers search for local information throughout the purchase process on a smartphone, computer, and tablet. At inspiration stage, they call it research stage, purchase stage, and post-purchase stage. So you can see, like, in the inspiration, it's quite high. In research, it's actually the highest. The purchase stage is almost as high as inspiration, and then you've got your post-purchase, which is also very high. So isn't that interesting? When people have already purchased from you, they're still going to be Googling your name or your company name, and this could be costing referrals for everyone. You know, this is something that I think is so important, and I'm so glad that it's something that I sort of took control of early on in my career, and I think, you know, it has had a big impact in the conversion rates when I've sat down with meetings and, you know, influencing clients and getting opportunities like speaking gigs and so on. So this is what buyers are saying, you know, the most important factors for them when they're engaging with a vendor. And this is in business to business. So whether or not a company understands their business model, so listening to the customer, understanding them, is the subject matter expert enough? Does it provide valuable consultation, educational tools? Does it know my company products and services? So, like, the buyer's decision-making criteria has changed quite substantially. Okay, so buyers are 7.2 times more connected than the typical LinkedIn member. So this is the other thing, is people who are making the purchasing decisions generally have more connections on social media than people that aren't making purchasing decisions. And they're actually more likely to share content as well, 9.2 times. So if you're connected with these people that are actually making the purchasing decisions, you've got 10 times a chance of having your content shared. So you can imagine what a difference it can make to having like 1,000 contacts that aren't actually real buyers, that are just there for information, and having real buyers there. I'm sorry, I've just had a note come through that said I've gotten quiet. Is that better, Sarah? Okay, I think this might be better if I keep going like this. Let me know if this screen has dropped out for any of you. And I'll keep an eye on the chat box as we go. Okay, look at, so 75% of B2B decision makers should be use social media to research service providers and vendors. If the slides do appear fuzzy, then the recording will actually fix that. It'll be in high definition. 93% of searches never go past the first page and the first 10 search results to form their first impression. So the first page of Google is really where you want to be focusing your attention. And if you focus on social media, that's the easiest way to get content all over the first page of Google. You won't be able to do it with just one or two websites. You need to really mark your digital footprint across the face of it. This is a quote from Richard Branson. Social media is not only more cost efficient than advertising, but it also offers great opportunities for innovative engagement with your customers. So this is one of the guys that pioneered customer engagement and getting in touch with the people within his organization as well. And he's utilized social media to a huge extent. He's one of the most followed people on LinkedIn. His articles I've been following for a long time. And look, they're very different. He's got an opinion on things. He's not as afraid to be a little bit edgy, but he does know what his brand is. He defined his brand very early on, which is so important, which is why I'm going to provide you with the personal branding workbook. And what it's going to ask you is, what is it that the values that you have that your business is based on? Is it integrity? Is it fun? Is it love? What is it? What is your brand, and what is it defined as? And why, the colors or your scheme, your theme for your website, all of the things throughout your social media, your calls to actions, your products should all be tying in with that particular brand. Okay, so what I'm basically saying is social media is becoming your first impression. So when people used to make a first impression, when they shake your hand, I think they said in 7 seconds they can make a first impression. That's actually happening online now. So you want to ask yourself, does your social media, does your website, do yourself justice as a brand? And if it doesn't, it's time to take control. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge amount of work. You don't need the world's fanciest website in order to make this work. It's really just about taking ownership of what people find and making sure that you portray the right message. It doesn't need to be a huge amount of content necessarily. Okay, so the digital marketing world is moving towards social media exclusively. It's my belief that in 5 years' time, websites will be extinct. They'll just be social channels. You can already see that Google is becoming a search engine for social media. And the reason for that is, if you study search engine optimization, there's a few things that Google looks at in its algorithm to decide which websites will rank towards the top, with the objective of giving its users a good experience. So one of the things that Google's always looked at is how many links are coming from other websites to your website. And in the old days, 10 years ago, I remember being able to manipulate the search engines quite easily just by getting thousands and thousands of links from websites all over the place to come back to the website that I was looking after and getting it right to the top. Google got smarter and its algorithms got more detailed, and the websites have to be relevant, they have to be credible, they have to have they have to have a good page rank. So things like government websites, newspaper websites always have very strong kudos with Google, and as does social media sites. Okay, so one of the other things is, how much content's on the website, how much relevant content, how often is the content updated, is there video, is there media, are people engaging with the content, are there comments, is it interacting with other social sites or websites? So of course, social media websites are going to be the most active in all of those regards. Therefore, it's much easier for me to get say a LinkedIn company page to the top of Google than it is to get a website up there, in the short to medium term. So, you know, ultimately, if you're thinking long-term about your business, social media is going to be a digital asset, and a website something that you're going to either need to replace in a few years or literally just do away with. At the moment, yes, you still need a website, but I'd be encouraging you to think social media and spend all of your time generating traffic to your business through social media. Okay, so this is the steps that I want to go through. There is a fifth step, which is basically reporting. Like, if you don't measure it, it's hard to improve. So first of all, like, the audit is very straightforward. Just Google yourself. So type in your name into Google. Make sure that you do it in incognito, or log out of your Gmail when you do it, so you can see what shows up. Just bear in mind that location will come into it as well. If you're doing it from, say, Melbourne, for example, more likely to see Melbourne search results than if you're doing it from Singapore. Okay, and it's not just about having yourself come up at the top. It's also about making sure that what people can see is the sort of message that you want to portray. So, like, for example, if your Facebook page is coming up and it's a personal page and it's got a picture of you guzzling a beer or something like that, maybe not the best thing for your customers to be looking at. If you're in financial services, that could quite easily lose your customer. So just bear in mind that you can make those sort of pages, any of your social pages that you use socially, private. You just want to adjust your privacy settings, take control, take ownership, and then have other pages or other social media sites that you use specifically for business. So this is just like an example. In marketing, we use this thing called digital personas. And these are 3 people that could be looking for a job. And you've got Negative Nathan, and his first page results a little bit blog post about his incompetence from a former colleague. So he's got a lot of negative stuff to fix up. You've got Irrelevant Irene, who you don't really learn anything about her. So it's kind of not really doing any favors. And then also Anna, who's got, you know, all of her qualifications on display, clear understanding of her industry. And this has a big impact on recruiters. Like, the statistics are huge of how many recruiters actually take into account what they find on Google or social media when they research a candidate. So very important for career progression. So what's your goal? Is it to build? If you've got no web presence, then you want to start building content. Protect. If you've got content you want to, you know, move to the second page of Google. You know, that's something that you really want to get some, you know, professional advice on how the best way to do that is. Enhance. Specific content you want to push higher. Now, there's very easy ways to do that through social media sharing. You can also use inbound link strategies, and optimizing your social pages is very important as well. And not difficult to do at all. Most people don't know how to do it. So I guess the first stage is being aware. Okay, so this is the search engine ranking factors. These are actually direct from Google, 2016, and this is how Google's deciding where it ranks websites. So domain trust. Now, how does it figure out whether or not it can trust a domain? Well, first of all, how long has that domain been online? If it's been online for 10 years, it's much more likely to rank well than if it's been online for just a month. Excuse me. Link popularity is inbound links. How many links are inbound, and the quality of those links. And then when that has those links, what does the text say on the link? Is it just the HTTP blah, 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 blah? Or does it actually have keywords in it that are relevant? On-page optimization, still 15%. So if you don't have all of the on-page things done, there's about 7 or 8 steps that you go through, title tags, H1 tags, all this coding stuff, then it's worthwhile getting that done. Still, most websites I see don't have it. And also, like, you've got to be mobile friendly. If you're not mobile friendly, you're missing out on about over half of the traffic now. But also Google are penalizing sites that aren't mobile friendly. So that's really important. So that you either have a mobile version of your website, which switches up when somebody's looking from a mobile device, or you have a responsive, which I highly recommend. Responsive basically adjusts to fit any device. So if you find that when you look at your website on a telephone that you're having to zoom in and zoom out to find buttons and you can't click on the telephone number and all that kind of thing, you need a mobile site. Very important. And they shouldn't cost more than $800 or $900. Domain registration and hosting, Got to have good hosting providers. That's very important. If you're looking for customers in Australia, always have a .com.au. Traffic, visitor performance. So how long are people staying on your site? Then if people are coming there and leaving right away, then Google's not going to think it's a very good website. So things like video come into play, having engaging content, making sure that you give users a good experience. And then, of course, it looks at social media as well. So if you don't have the LinkedIn page, if you don't have the Facebook page, and it's not clear to Google that you're actually socially active, then you're not going to rank as well either. So it's important that you cover all of these things when you're putting your website together. But also, like if you're posting, say, an article on a news site, you want to make sure that you've got these things as well. So on page optimization, have some links from your social media and from other news websites back to the article, and that will make sure the article ranks really well. Okay, so Google loves social media. And just FYI, if you didn't know already, Google has bought YouTube. Video marketing is one of the fastest growing areas of digital, and that invariably is going to rank really well. Google Plus is something that never really took off per se. However, because it's owned by Google, Google Plus sites rank really well. So Google Plus and YouTube, highly recommended. If you have enough credibility or references to get onto Wikipedia, highly recommend that as well. It always ranks really well. Twitter is something that's worth setting up. Twitter can grow organically. Like it really is an amazing tool to grow your following. And you know, the optimal amount of times to post on any of these sites really is twice a day. Now, I know that we're not all fortunate enough to have full-time social media campaign managers. So even if it's twice a week, but as long as it's consistent and people know what to expect and they know when to expect it, and you manage to keep that going, then that's the key. If it's not consistent, it doesn't help build trust. Okay, so social media profiles. This is an example of one of our clients. And for those of you that have done some work with me in regards to my LinkedIn training or LinkedIn profile optimization or lead generation, you'll be familiar with our 22-step process that we use to optimize profiles. However, these principles can be applied across all social media profiles. So you can notice that with Craig, we've got his headline there, which has keywords such as performance coach, mentor, speaker, professional programs. And these are things that people might search for when they're looking for, you know, people that do what he does. And we've got the rest of the profile fully complete. So his postcode, his city, his industry, they're all there. He's got some articles that he's posted there. He's got quite a few followers, which is great. And we've filled out everything that LinkedIn wants us to. Now, if Google wants to give its users a good experience, LinkedIn does as well. That if you're filling out the complete profile, then you're going to get more visibility. No different to Facebook. So you want to follow the same principles. If you have keywords that you want to target, make sure they're in there as your job title. Make sure they're in there in the description. Make sure they're in there in the content and even in your posts. And that way you'll rank better. You'll also notice, it might be a bit hard to see, that it's got a customized URL there. So rather than just having linkedin.com/ and a bunch of numbers and letters, which are pretty much gibberish, automatically generated by a computer, he's got linkedin.com/ in and then / Craig Stevens. Now, by having his name in the web address, that is going to be a huge factor in making sure that his profile ranks right at the top of Google when people search for Craig Stevens. Could be quite a common name, and therefore he's going to get traffic when people are looking for what he does rather than someone else, and it not really having much of an impact. So I can't go into all of the profile optimization stuff. There's a lot to go through there. However, we do provide, after the session, a free training video on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Google Plus profiles as well, worth doing because they rank well in search engines. I know, look, I know that it can be confusing because there's so many out there, and I can see how easily, especially small business owners, could spend all of their time on social media and not be out actually doing any business. So you want to pick the sites which you think you can be consistent with, and the others don't worry about it. There's nothing worse than setting it up and not having it active. Okay, and you want to make sure that you've got a tool to manage all of these in the same place. There's no reason that why you should be logging on to LinkedIn to share a piece of content and then having to log on to Facebook to share the same piece of content, you can actually schedule posts in advance and having them posted across all profiles simultaneously. And so how do you do that? You have that through Hootsuite is generally the best way, because that's free. So if you type in Hootsuite into Google, you'll see that it's free to set up for up to 3 profiles, and you can schedule posts for the most engaging time of day for the month in advance. That's how we manage client campaigns. So our clients will receive a spreadsheet full of all the posts for the month at the beginning of the month, and they'll tick it off, and then it'll basically just happen like clockwork across every single one of their social media sites. And it makes it a lot easier to manage. Like, you literally set that up for the whole month in a couple of hours. Whereas if you're logging on every time you think of it, or you're every day, it's a very inefficient way to run your marketing for your business. We just had a question come through from John. Is it worthwhile having a paid LinkedIn account? Look, the paid LinkedIn account at the moment, I think the key advantage is you can do more activity. So they limit the number of searches you can do per day with a free account to 10 pages of search results. For most people, that's an awful lot. Like if you're not reaching that barrier, then you may not need to upgrade. However, if you think that some of the criteria that you can get when you upgrade are important in search, when you're searching. So like when you go to advanced search on LinkedIn, you can search by people's industry, job title, company size, location, what groups they're members of, and so on. And some of those search features will only be available to premium customers. And one of them I know is company size. So if you're looking for big companies, over 200 employees, for example, then you'll need to upgrade to use that. For things like in-mails, where you're actually paying to message someone, my view on it is it is not as effective as connecting with them and actually building a relationship with somebody. If you're paying to message them, it is very salesy. That's not really what social media is about. I think you'd want to be reaching out with customized connection requests first. So unless you're noticing like you're actually being restricted on LinkedIn, doing what, your lead generation, I wouldn't upgrade. Of course, all of our clients are got premium accounts because we are doing a huge amount of activity for them and generating them lots and lots of leads. So it is important. But if you do upgrade, the Business Plus is sufficient. It's their cheapest upgrade. I think it's $50 or $60 now, and you get the first month free. So worthwhile giving a go. Okay, so when you're talking about which social media sites to be on, yes, you want to think about which ones you can manage, but also where your customers are. And then I guess it's important to have a look at the numbers. Like Facebook it's got so many members now that it's almost like a must. For every company needs a Facebook page these days, because your customers are more than likely on there. I know in Australia we've got over 12, I think it's maybe over 13 now, million people on Facebook. It's a huge amount. I think it's similar to the amount of people that actually have a mobile telephone. LinkedIn's got 429 million globally, 7.5 million in Australia. So that's like all of the white collar workforce. We recently did a Facebook advertising campaign where I exported all of my LinkedIn contacts and I used them as a custom audience of Facebook. And I found that about 30% of the contacts that I have on LinkedIn use the same email address for their account on Facebook. So all of a sudden they're seeing our advertising in the business world and also in their social sphere as well, which can be very subconscious, because a lot of them will say, oh, I've seen you around and my network seems to know of you. But quite often it's just people seeing things on social media in their social sphere. So like on Facebook, having things pop up in their newsfeed that their friends have liked or commented on is generally, a result of highly targeted advertising. If you don't highly target your ads on Facebook or LinkedIn or most of these social media sites, it won't work. And it's very easy to pigeonhole a whole social media site because of targeting not correctly. So make sure that you get the right advice from somebody that knows what they're doing and can prove that they get results. I apologize about the graphic here. I wanted to show a quote from Warren Buffett, and it seems to have put our buyer's funnel over it. Warren Buffett says that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Okay, so if you think about that, you'll do things differently. So it's not just about having stuff up there now which is going to engage people. It's actually protecting your digital footprint, because as this becomes more and more important, the more digital branding you have online, the less likely or the less easier it's going to be for people to ruin your reputation. And you never know what could happen in the future. So it's always something that you should be mindful of, because the internet is so important these days, and one bad article or one pissed off consumer can literally, ruin your reputation overnight online. I know it's not the be all and end all, and you shouldn't necessarily take a whole lot of notice of it. But if people don't know you that well, and they're just going to be subconsciously affected and more likely to do business with somebody that doesn't have anything negative posted about them. So keep that in mind. It is something that's to take very seriously. Watch what you post on social media. Despite what it may seem like, everything that you post, whether it's private or not, is out there in the digital sphere. And on Facebook, I'm amazed at what some people post. I know that Mark Zuckerberg, even when he started Facebook, he was chatting to a friend of his, and he was saying how he got 4,000 members on the Facebook, and he said to his friend, if you ever want to, do a mail out or an SMS campaign to these users, you're more than welcome to use them. And he ended up saying they called them some names for signing up to the offer that he provided, and it cost him about $50 million in payoff several years later, just to stop that coming to the surface. And I read about that in a book by Eric Qualman. For those of you that watched the Socionomics video, which I had on the landing page, he's the author of that. It's called Digital Leadership. I highly recommend picking that up. It's called Digital Leadership, and it's by Eric Qualman. That's very interesting, because privacy is going to be something which I think is going to be, it's going to be like the biggest area of digital marketing moving forward. Because if you think about it, people are making purchasing decisions on, how reliable or how private the supplier is. So if you're in business to business, if you're looking for let's say you're looking for a bank, and you read somewhere that they're not great with their privacy, it's going to have a huge impact on whether or not you do business with them. Okay, this is a really important quick tip. If you haven't got the domain name for your first and last name, make sure you purchase it. It's something that you want to own. Going back to what I said about the URL being a ranking factor on Google, of course, if you have www.johnsmith.com or .com.au, that's going to rank invariably well for your name. So make sure that you own that real estate. Whether or not you build anything on it now, is beside the point. You want to make sure you own that .com or the .com.au for your personal name and your company name. And if there's variations of your company name as well, like if you think that people might be searching for, kind of important to own those, just so nobody starts taking your market by fooling the public. If you want to find out what's being said about you or your company online, make sure you go to google.com/alerts and set up Google Alerts. So you can type in keywords and get emails when anything's posted about you or your brand. So that's quite important. This is the sort of thing that we use to manage social media for our clients. We'll put in related keywords and find out what the latest, what's happening in the industry, and the latest news, so we can post relevant content for them. Okay, so it's also very easy to make your social media very proper and boring. Don't get too caught up in doing everything the right way. I think it's important to show personality and have meaningful communication. Like, it's actually more important than ever to be vulnerable and be honest and show, vulnerability and show who you are. Like, a meaningful communication. Unfortunately, it's happening a lot now on social media, so you've got to be part of the conversation. And look, if it's something that works against you, look, people are having these conversations. If you don't join in, it's something that can cause consequences. People are discussing your brand. You really want to be a part of that discussion and not in an argumentative way, but if you handle it the right way, you listen to what they say, you take the conversation offline and resolve their complaint, then it actually does your brand a lot of good, because people can see that you care about your customers and you do things the right way. Okay, this is really important when it comes to personal branding, social media, and looking at your individual point of difference. Like when I go to a LinkedIn profile, I don't want to read that you're an accountant that does this, this, and this. It's the same as every other accountant. I want to know what's your unique value proposition. What is it that you do that other people don't do as well as you? And if you don't have this, like, it's going to be very hard for you to compete in business, because there's so much competition out there now with the internet. There's just a huge amount of competition, and it's coming from everywhere. If you don't have this unique value proposition defined, then I urge you to really consider, what is it that you do the best, and push that. It needs to be on every single piece of your marketing, on every social profile on your website. It needs to be something that's communicated in business meetings, and that's really what your brand is. Okay. I'm sorry we're taking a bit longer than usual, than I anticipated, sorry. We'll get through the rest of it relatively quickly. Select the right social networks. Make sure that you're going where your audience is. Like Pinterest, for example, is all women. If your market's not women, then you don't want to waste time on things like Pinterest or Instagram. Make sure that you focus on where your customers are. And there's some demographic information here, which we'll give to you after the webinar, about all of the main sites. Okay, make sure that when you fill out your social profiles, you do put a link to your website. Contact information is very important. Profile picture and cover photo. You want to make sure that these profile photos are saved using your first and last name as well. It's going to play a part in optimization. So what I mean by that is save the image as johnsmith.jpg or whatever before you upload it, so that actually when Google crawls the internet for your name, it can see that image and it shows up in Google Images. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to show you Virgin quite quickly. We mentioned Richard Branson earlier. You can see he's got a branded cover image. He's got a link to the website, and he says what content will be shared. So welcome, this is the official Twitter page for the Virgin Group, sharing news and views and fun from around the Virgin universe. And a link to the main website, and he mentions it's an official account as well. You can see that he's got over 208,000 followers. And look, when it comes to posting content, you've got to have this rule of thirds where you balance your message. So one, yes, you can promote your products, but only if it's a third of the things that you post. You also can share industry lifestyle news, which is another third. And another third should be conversing with customers. So focus on engagement. You want to post stuff that creates discussions. Ask your customers questions, post things, ask people what they think of new products, ask people to provide feedback and get the discussion going. And that's really what gets you to rank well in the search results as well. So engagement simply means responding to your target market in a way that evokes a response. Okay, we mentioned this, but publish content efficiently. Manage all of your social media content in one place. So Hootsuite's very important. You can use Buffer as well. There's a number of them out there. I just think Hootsuite's the cheapest. What's free for the first 3 profiles. Using Facebook, make sure you include images and videos. Very important. You need to use ads to promote your posts. If you haven't got a clue how to do that, I wouldn't go down the route of learning all about Facebook advertising. I can assure you it takes a long time. I'd find somebody that knows what they're doing in the space. You can contact us and we'll be more than happy to help you. And if it's a viable option for you, we can manage campaigns for you. There's a lot of companies out there doing this now. You want to make sure that you've got short text posts is using marketing language and a strong call to action as well. Very important. Okay, so once you've built these social profiles and you are dominating the first page of Google, you've got to really look at what worked, what resonated well with your audience, where do you find that you're getting the most traction, and then just focus on where the market is. So if you're getting great results on Twitter, then really that's where you should be focusing your advertising budget. Okay, so we've got to the end. I apologize for taking a little bit longer than expected. So this can either really be the end, and I guess an informative webinar where you learn a little bit about what's happening in the digital economy, or it can be the beginning of taking control of your digital footprint. And when you do this, guys, you become an industry leader. This is the difference between the people that attract customers and the people that need to go out and find them. So the next step is we'll provide you the webinar recording. It'll be posted on LinkedIn. So if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, make sure you do that. We'll be sending you the personal branding workbook for you to work through. I really encourage you to print that off and spend some time on it. And some LinkedIn profile optimization training, which is going to be the quickest way to get to your LinkedIn profile to the top of the Google search results. And as an added bonus, we've got an offer here where I'll actually do an audit on your digital footprint for you. We don't normally do this, but we are going to basically do an analysis of your digital footprint, give you basically a digital scorecard, and provide you with some coaching on what direction we think you should be heading with your digital reputation. So if you want to take advantage of that, I'm just going to put the link up here. Okay, you should be able to see that to the right, and it's limited to 10. There's only 10 spaces available, so first come, first served. We'll no doubt be doing another webinar in a couple of months, but for the time being, there's only 10 spots available. If you click on the Register Now button, it'll take you straight to a calendar where you can book in your time for your free digital footprint audit. Thanks very much for everybody that's taking your time out of your day for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I hope that you got some value. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions, and have a great week in business. Thanks very much.